Welcome to the Performance Matters Podcast with your hosts, Matrixx Ferreira and Miles Methner, brought to you by Iron Performance Center.
This thing was as tall as your building.
So how they light the goddamn fire? How they get the wood up?
Let me tell you the story
the
of the Texas A&M Bonfire.
There we go.
All right. So you enter the field, which is right beside, like kind of, I don't know, let's say it's like less than half a kilometer from the stadium, parking lot, big wide open field. And the field could probably support like 10 soccer fields.
Awesome.
So 10 soccer fields. You've seen these types of facilities, everywhere in Ontario. You pop into one for a soccer tournament. It's that beside the Texas A&M University. And it's on Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. So everybody, alumni, their kids, the student body shows up the night before the game. So they show up Thursday. They show up Thanksgiving Day. And the field packed. There's got to be, no joke, 250,000 people in the field. The bonfire is made out of logs, trees, just stacked beside each other, leaning up against each other, with a single tree that's the tallest. It's probably 50 feet tall as the anchor, and everything else attached to it.
Like a teepee type thing.
Yeah, it looks like a teepee. And on top of it is an outhouse, like an old-style wooden outhouse that has the Texas University logo on it. They call it the Texas Tea Room for the team they're playing the next day. They have it coated with bed sheets. They're probably as tall as this room, all on all sides of it. And the bed sheets are kind of attached to it. They bring in some trucks and spray it with jet fuel. And then, and this is the weirdest part, it's like an old military college. So all these guys they call them yell leaders. They're dressed in these like kind of painters type outfits. They walk in with like sticks that are lit with fire on the end. They walk through this crowd and they each touch the side of this thing at the same time, and it just goes up and it burns. You can feel it. I was probably at the back of the third soccer field. You could feel the heat coming out.
Jesus Christ, that's fucking crazy.
Sadly, 2 years after the one I went in 97. In 99, when they were building it, now they have the engineer students building it, it collapsed. And they haven't done it since. They haven't done it to that extent since. Because I think about 6 or 7 kids died.
That's fucked.
Yeah. So,
damn.
But, I mean, to build this thing, some alumni just said, hey, here's my field. Go clear cut all the trees. Like, that's, I'm telling you.
Everything's bigger in Texas, eh?
Yeah.
Holy
Huge.
shit. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah. Then the next day was the football game. The game I went to, they lost, pouring rain. Ricky Williams. Remember Ricky Williams?
No.
Running back. His guy got into pot, ended up in the Argonauts, Miami. No?
I don't remember that guy.
Man. Ricky Williams, one of the best college running backs ever. He ran over the Aggies, and they won the game, like, I don't know, something like 23-16. It was a close game. Oh.
That's crazy.
That's my story.
That's a good story. I always want to go to Texas. I've never been to Texas.
So when are we starting this?
We'll start right now.
Didn't we start already?
Yeah, I always
feel like all the good content's been used up.
I know, fucking Jessica's gonna hear that shit and be like, "You're talking about what?"
You can edit this thing.
Oh, I'm totally gonna edit some things. Don't worry.
Yeah. This is sponsored by Squatty.
Performance Matters Podcast, our sponsor, big shout out, Pete Methner Photography, premier sportsographer in the Niagara region. You can reach him at www.petemetnerphotography.com. As always, support local. Awesome dude. We're very lucky, if you guys were listening to the intro stories, Scott Maskell, right? Scott Maskell, president of Arion Insurance, right? Fantastic dude, local hero. Can fucking squat the most in the room, although,
Thanks, Coach.
Mac Martin caught up. So.
He's here today, so.
Yeah.
Number 2 in the room.
Yeah, he's doing 150 for triples with a 3-second pause today, and then just proceeded to do like trap bar, kickstand RDLs with the same pause. Just yoked. He's doing like 170 next week for singles. So
I have to tell you, walking in this place this time of year is the best. See all the people back.
It's fun. It is fun.
Got Emmett out there. Props me up as soon as I walk in. Got Lucas here 24/7, I imagine.
It is one of my, like, next to the summer, it's one of my favorite times of year. Again, we tell our kids the same thing. It's because, like, it's almost like the bat signal just goes off, and they'll kind of just roll back in. And we had Ian McQueen, Austin this morning, guys getting after it, and then a couple of Lakers girls were here as well.
Kara's out there.
Yeah, Kara's out there crushing shit. He just finished up this morning too, and then a bunch more will be in this afternoon as they kind of finish up their exams. Some have online exams too, so like they come home a little early and all that stuff. But it's a lot of fun. Like the energy just goes back up again, and
good to see people.
Yeah, they're crushing it. You know what I mean? They're crushing it. It's nice to hear how their first semester, especially like their freshmen. It's cool to hear like how their first semester is. Like a lot of them grown up a little bit. Like, whoa, like. Had to cook for myself, had to balance my own schedule and all those things. You kind of like try to tell them those things are going to happen, but until they actually do it, So it's been fun to just catch up with them, hear their stories, and just see how their seasons have been going. Some good, some could be better, but they all have, like any other sport or university, it's like the same issues with a different logo on their chest. They all have the same issues, but no, it's one of my favorite times here. So I'm excited to see them kind of get after it, but. Yeah, that's kind of what's going on right now. But other than that, we want to talk about you. I really wanted to kind of tie this in because we talked to Dave, and we have a really good Iron Pros group going on. And I really want to kind of help people understand the message of why it's not just athletes that need to, I would say, train like athletes, but actually have a structured routine of some form of, and I would say it's called training, not working out, because it's systematic, there's progress, it's tracked, it's monitored. And everything's flexible to adjust to circumstances that pop up. Why is it important to you? Like, why does that matter to you? You've been doing it for years. Why is it
I could go on forever, but I'll give you one example. So such a interesting question to ask 1 week after we kind of realize it in our household. So, it's that busy time of year. Diana's working again. She's got a bit of a grind going on. I got some pretty heavy things at work happening last week, and we are just mired in, just a busy week. No different than anybody else's else. So don't get me wrong, but just a busy week. And Wednesday's happening last week, and we're both just kind of, getting the tension in the household going, and have our session all scheduled for Thursday. She's going with Miles. I'm here doing my my training, and we hopped in the car Thursday. Got up here, grinded out each of us, and we hopped back in the car. We both said the same thing to ourselves, like just that de-stress. You'll feel positive about yourself. Really, tired, but you came and you put the effort in. So, just so many positive things mentally that help you kind of get through and move on to through your day, through your week. But both of us coming in and hitting some pretty big gains that day. I was pushing some bench, pretty excited to get some numbers floating up there a little bit to cap off. Cap off a little 4-week session. Diana had some positive things, so it's just that it's a bit of that kind of mental relief, and you tie it in with your body and your physical health. It's awesome. We're happy to do it here.
It's always crazy because we've always analyzed, okay, the messaging and how to, I think a lot of people, when they start, they have this result type outcome, which is fine. They have a set goal in mind. And sometimes, again, those things change and those things roll, which is kind of part of the point. Whether they are very common when they come in, they want to lose weight or they want to look better. They have like some kind of like quantitative thing, if they will, to kind of indicate what that success looks like. And then for us, it's always trying to figure out what does that mean to you? Like, why that? So, for example, someone comes in, they want to lose 20 pounds. We say, well, why 20 pounds? And they tie it back to a feeling, kind of like we were talking about in the intro. They tie it back to a feeling of like, well, if they show this picture of them in college or something like, look, I weighed, whatever it was in college, and I looked like that. So then you realize it's like, well, it's not really the number that you're chasing. You're trying to look, you could weigh 20 pounds more, but if you look like that, would you care? No, they don't care. They're tying something back to an emotional, I want to look and feel how I did at this point in my life, because that's where I felt the best or something, right? So then now you can, okay, if we're open and curious about that, so now then you eventually get to work, you start transitioning what I would hope to be more of like a process-driven thing, because now the outcome goals are always rolling. It changes. Like you hit something here, you're curious about this. Like Dave's a great example. Like you'll chase a rowing goal, then you'll chase like a mass goal, whatever it is. right? But then they start to be more embedded. Like they have a deeper curiosity of the actual process of how they're going to get there. And they know that if they have that process kind of like, better ironed out, the results won't really matter as much because that'll always fluctuate based on the seasonality that comes with chaos or, downtime. But it's more just the habits of like, no, like this is something that I feel good doing, right? So when did that kind of realization maybe happen for you?
Yeah, I was pretty young. I was in my teenage years, playing hockey, trying out for football in high school, and there's that moment where you realize the connection between strength training, physical growth, and goal setting, and the sport. Like I always loved sport. Hit this moment where knowing, it's kind of that thing in sports. Like eventually you're kind of told you might want to get in the gym.
Yeah.
But you get in there and you hit this moment of having no clue what you're supposed to do here. I was really fortunate growing up. Aiden Zimmerman's uncle, Tyson's dad, Dale Zimmerman, connected me with me and a bunch of guys in the gym and just showed us the way. And always had somebody kicking around to do something like that, or later doing it for yourself. But as I got older, wasn't doing it right. Kind of pain crept in, and talking to Dave one time at the Pro Gloves boxing event, he's like, "You got to go see Coach Matrixx. You got to go down to Iron Performance. You got to get back into this. You like it, you talk about it, but you need the program to do it." And so getting back in here almost, like 6 years ago.
Yeah, it's been 6 years.
Was just really important for me because it was something I was yearning to do again and be a part of it, and yet I didn't have the guidance. I didn't have the right plan. I didn't have the right attack to hit goals. And so for me, it was always just sort of showing up, doing, and then kind of being let down, which mentally wasn't a good space. So yeah, it's been awesome. I've really enjoyed it. It's something I really never imagined I'd be doing again in terms of coming in with a real strong program and trying to hit objectives. But to be 45 years old and going at it again this way is just awesome. Love it.
Yeah. And again, there's a lot of, I think they overestimate what they can do in a very short time span, and they underestimate what they can do in a long time span. You know what I mean? I think it's trying to help bridge that gap. Like, hey, we have to just find a win in the day of some regard. Like these things will not change overnight. There has to be a consistency across time, right? And it's going to be flexible to adapt to circumstances, right? Like things happen, shit happens. Like something's happened at work, family stuff. Things take away from, your ability to get certain things done at a certain time, right? But I think people kind of lose sight of the small wins. Like I think people, they tie themselves to numbers all the time, right? Whether it's a certain number on the scale or, I want to bench this much or run this fast. It's that's all well and good, but you're not going to really, and we kind of say this too, but you're actually going to feel something before you're going to feel a certain way. You're not going to notice a change. You're not going to notice a change in your physique or your outputs. You're going to feel different. You're going to feel maybe a little more energized first. Maybe you'll sleep better. It'll be a very subtle moment where you feel a little bit different or something clicks a little bit differently. And then other people will notice before you notice any significant changes. It's true.
Yeah, true.
You might not see someone for a couple months, and then you see them at the holidays, and they will point out something that you don't point out because you see yourself every day, right? So it's almost like it's really, we're always curious how we kind of bridge that gap of hey, you have this outcome-driven thing, right? And that's a great starting point. How do we now transition to a habit, a consistency, a process-driven approach where it's flexible to adapt to circumstance and not throw the baby out with the bathwater? You know what I mean? It's not just adults. It's it happens with kids in sport too, right? They're so chased on the wins and the losses, but it's and we say this all the time too, you're simply just trying to decrease your likelihood of missing. You're trying to decrease your likelihood of failure, but that doesn't disregard the work you're doing to get there, right? You have two guys in the Olympic gold medal final. Someone has to lose. It doesn't disregard the work they did, right? They got a lot of benefits from the work. It's just the outcome wasn't exactly what they wanted, right? And same thing in the short term. It's yes, you could lose 20 pounds in 3 weeks. Can you sustain it? Not at all. So it's kind of that
Yeah, that's the one thing. I mean, generally in life, business, especially in the gym, I always thinking long term. Like I'm a long term thinker. I know I can get somewhere. I'm willing to put in the time. I'm willing to put in the work. I have this vision, thought of an outcome that's distant. I'm willing to commit a lot of energy and time to get there. I do sometimes struggle in the short term aspect. Again, personal life, business life, and in the gym, because of exactly what you said. If you're not really connecting with uh, the what to do and how to do it deeply, then you're going to feel a little frustrated coming in and doing work or working out or being a part of something and trying to connect it to your long term vision. So it's one of the things that I've really been sold on being here is simply, having you lead it, having you and the coaches and the programming lead to deliver those smaller results that you feel those success moments and know that you can connect that success with the longer term strategy. And like we do here every once in a while, you kind of put that North Star out there. We're going to do a big lift in a couple of weeks or this is a PR that's coming up for you. And it all kind of comes together and you look back and you're just like, oh yeah, that's been 10 weeks in the making.
Yeah, it's been hovering.
Absolutely.
It's been hovering. Yeah, it's those little checkpoints along the way. It could always help, and it keeps you hungry a little bit sometimes too. So it's always getting that message across. Of just like, listen, if you had to start something new, it's like, what's the smallest win you can get today? Find the small win. Like, you're gonna fucking sleep like shit sometimes. You eat like shit. You're gonna feel stressed. There's all these things like, what's the small win you can get right now in this moment, in any regard? Because that just makes it easier to stack on another small win, like, and then another small win. Like, we were talking to some of our kids the other day, like, about, there's a younger team, not probably the most elite by standards, but it's like, hey, the smallest win for you was you set the bar at the right height. That's great. Like, you didn't do that last time. Good for you. All of a sudden, like, oh, okay, cool. Like, that's great. I got it right the first time. All of a sudden, they got curious, like, oh, can I do this bar? And that's cool. They started getting more curious, like, okay, it doesn't matter how their day went. They got like a small victory. Now they're curious of like, what's the next thing I can get? If that was the victory I got, what's the next victory I can get? And they just start stacking these small little things like, oh, you actually planted your feet really well that time. Or, hey, you actually, high-fived your teammate after she struggled. That's a win for you. Like, you didn't do that last time. Those things all just build and they kind of like ripple out a little bit more. And then you have, we say earn the digging rights, where now they're curious to actually listen and trying a little bit harder. You know what I'm saying? So, and again, that doesn't go just for young athletes, but I think it's pretty important for them because, again, they're young athletes, especially, they're pretty much dictated by what they're told to do. You know what I mean? They're checking the box a lot of times. And we try to help them understand it's not so much what you're doing, it's a good start, but it's how you're doing it. Like, what's the intent you're putting behind something? Like, yes, you go to practice, you play baseball, all right? Throw the ball, you hit the bat, ball, bat, catch, throw to first base. That doesn't change in high school. It doesn't change in elementary. It doesn't change in the pros. What's the difference between throwing a ball, hitting the ball, throwing it out to first base? It's how they're doing it. It's the intent of how they practice the skill, the intent of the execution, and the accuracy, and the precision, and the speed. But in general, it's the same thing. It's just the intent and how they're doing it. So it's like, once you're checking the box, now we can start to drive intent behind it. And I think it's no different than, tying it back to, the consistency of someone taking care of their health and their fitness. It's like, yes, showing up, that's good. That you're doing what you're supposed to do. Now you get to be stacking the wins on how can I do this better? How can I progress this? And you get more curious about the actual process of what you're doing now. So now you can drive more intent behind it versus just showing up and tying it to an outcome that really is going to be dictated by how you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. You know what I'm saying? And then,
yeah, you got it.
I think that's where people start to, I didn't get this because I did all the things, but I didn't get that. You're like, how did you do it? Right? How did you do it? Like, did you take care of the stuff in your control? Did you go to bed? Have you been drinking? How is your family life? How's stress? So there's a lot of factors that we can't control for an hour of your day. Like, there's 23 other hours of the day. You know what I mean? But it's always trying to get that messaging across, I think. And I think it's important that, folks, like regular folks, just have their stories shared on that stuff. So what would you say to anyone who's maybe on the fence? You know what I'm saying? Maybe on the fence, maybe they don't know if it's for them. And again, I get this shit can be intimidating. It's definitely, you walk into a new room, you hear music going, bars dropping, you see all this shit that's maybe unfamiliar to you. What's the message to folks that are being on the fence about that?
Yeah, I think first of all, this place in particular is very different. So I've been to many different types of gyms. I won't even call this a gym in the sense of the way most people look at it. So like that's probably the starting point here is gyms are intimidating. They're less, in my opinion, gyms are intimidating. They're less organized. There's some chaos to what people are doing there, and there's a lot less leadership around it. And then you have other places where that leadership is really super structured around, you're kind of everybody's kind of checking boxes and running through a circuit, and we're all kind of doing it collectively over a certain hour. So a little bit of that teamwork thing. And this place gets like very individualized and very specific per person in an element where you walk in and you're supported by not just the coaches but by the other people in the room. So there's just that moment of everybody's kind of rowing the right direction here, the same direction, even though they're doing it themselves. And it's really cool to see that everybody here has very specific goals for them that are leading to some kind of future positive outcome that they're going to be able to capitalize on. And it's neat to come in here. We're not all doing it at the same time. So although we have, the Squattober, the December event, or the rowing event, oftentimes you're coming in here and you're walking in a moment where, I don't know, that football player's going for a big lift, or that volleyball player who's been here for the last 3 or 4 months is trying to do something differently, or trying to measure one of their metrics that they have to attain for their sporting goal. And I think that cultural piece is really what makes this place different. And I know it's tough to speak outwardly about culture. It's like the photograph that we talked about earlier. It's tough to speak about.
We'll keep that in for context.
But you really feel it. Like, I'm somebody who's always been into this.
Yeah.
But I just looked to my wife Diana, and she's not. She's always been somebody in fitness, in sport, and it took me probably a year to convince her to come here, because for her, sport was a bit of a job. She did that job, but it was something that, here's what you're doing, dance. Here's what you're doing, acting. Here's what you're doing, gymnastics. She couldn't mentally translate that to what goes on here based on my explanation. So I connected with her around things that she was interested in, which was, the typical things like better physique, better line of health. But when she got in here, she really just started doing very similar things to what I did, and got an outcome that she was looking for, and would come home proud at something she attained in whatever facet. So, it's a unique place. Everybody's getting their own thing here, whether you're aiming for a scholarship or whether you're like me, just trying to maintain your physical fitness and really hit good strength goals here. It's a different spot. And
put down the advertisement. But no, there's a point there, and it's funny because Jessica just started coming here now too. And the reason for it, because again, I think this speaks on a bigger point, because tying it back to sports, it does become a job. When you get to high school, because you can be recruited at like 15 years old, you're kind of being pushed in this path. But at some point, we all hang up our cleats, our skates. Some point that high level competition ends, but this shit doesn't go anywhere. So I think sometimes there's negative connotation or negative tie. It's like, well, practice was a lot of work. It was hard. There was days I didn't want to do things, but I did it. And whatever your pinnacle you hit, besides the point that they associate training with, well, that's what I was supposed to do then, but not now. So it's hard for them now to bridge the gap to, well, how do I close that chapter on maybe that, but have a new North Star to keep doing what I have to do to feel good about myself and feel confident in the things I'm doing, right? And I think it comes down to like that curiosity. There's always like that point where someone's now curious, like, maybe I should do this. What does that look like? And Jessica's a great example of this case because she hates working out.
Yeah.
She's done personal training in Toronto, all that stuff. She hated it. So she's like, well, I do Pilates, all that stuff. I'm like, that's great. That's a great starting point. Love that for you. If you're enjoying it, nothing else, if you find something you're enjoying, it's better than nothing. Do that. Like, that's something you can stack upon now. So all of a sudden she's curious, like, well, you think I can, squat and do all those things? And I'm like, yeah, of course you can. Like, absolutely. right? And we'll find what that looks like for you. So all she's like, well, I'm not an athlete, I'm not this. It's like, you don't have to be an athlete. You know what I mean? Like, I think everyone ties athlete with just sports. Like, athlete really is, I am trying to do something. I'm training, or I'm, I'm doing some physical activity of some regard to enhance and get better at some basic outcome or some activity, which is my pinnacle. So it's like, it doesn't have to be a sport with a ball or competition. It's literally just, I'm striving for something. That's what I'm like. That is literally athlete. I'm training to strive for something as an outcome. It's like, okay, so you don't have to be a sport athlete. It's just you have something in your head that you're trying to get closer towards, which requires a process, right? You have to hone a system to get closer to that goal versus just throwing shit at the wall randomly and saying I did something. It's like, again, better than nothing, but at the same time, you're kind of missing the dartboard. Your grouping's not getting closer. We have to kind of be a little more precise, general but precise.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, yes, you can train like an athlete. It's just, I think it's just the connotation, like they associate, the perception, which is normal. But I was like, yeah, you can do those things. So she comes in, she does things. All of a sudden, she's like, okay, that wasn't too bad. Like, that was tough but good. I'm like, yeah, you're capable. You're more than capable. I don't know where you put these notions or where you come up with these perceptions of I can't do something because I'm not that. It's like, where'd that come from? You know what I mean?
Yeah. You just said something that really kind of brought it together for me, and personally, again, going to the gym for me at some point hit this kind of like muscle head moment, grab the Men's Health magazine off the shelves, try to come up with something, not sure if that's it for me. And I'm sure women feel the same way. It's like, I don't want big muscles. I don't want big, be a weightlifter. And that's sort of that connection. I think here a great example is athletics, generally athletics. Like, anybody competing in athletics, whether they're a ballet dancer or whether they're, pushing bobsleds. I mean, that's your massive wide position on this industry. They all fit in here because you're all getting into some form of programming that really aids you in success along your way. And if you look at what everybody's doing here, there's some core simplicity to it. There's some consistency to it, whether you're loading up that bar with a lot of weight to do a single squat for Squat-tober, or whether you're kind of in the middle of summer just trying to crank out some reps with a safety bar, with a wedge underneath your feet. Like, there's a lot going on, and there's a lot of guidance around it, and there's a lot of support. But generally, it's like the core of it is athletics and training around those athletics. And I think anybody can have success with it and enjoy it and be a part of it. And just that thought to come back to it, to button it up, is like, I've been here for 7 years, and I think of like almost everybody that comes through here, in my opinion, seems to find a way to get their goals set. I don't know what those goals are. You probably do, and so does the individual. But it seems to me like majority of people attain their goals. And a lot of them sit on that wall where their name's been represented because their goal has been to get to a school or to get to a professional sports team. But there's a lot of people here who aren't doing that. And we're still kind of nailing our goals. They might not be a massive squat, a massive bench, but everybody's getting better. Everybody's decreasing their weight or improving their muscle mass or even their physical physique in a visual form. But you got to feel it. Like 7 years, I'm just kind of giving you some credit for this, but 7 years, a lot of people have come through here in different facets who are hitting their goals, like getting to the space they want to get to, and probably a spot that they didn't know if this was it for them.
Yeah, and that comes, like, we're always trying to bridge that gap. Like, there's a lot of, and I get it, preconceived notions. Like you said, like, I don't want to be bulky, all those things. Those things are still, even that's like the 90s mentality, and it's still around. And there's, again, people don't care about the science. But we can go to her blue in the face, be like, well, that's been debunked. We know that's not the case. Actually, like, even seniors at 65, like, power output relative to their body mass is a prime indicator of falls. And if you fall and break something past age 65, your mortality rate goes up like 50% in the next year. Yep. So it's like, those things are scary and everything else, but it's like, they don't care about the numbers. They have their own individual thing. And even if you go to your blue in the face and say, well, actually, that's not true, but people get very defensive, obviously. You can't just be like, well, you're wrong, even though they're wrong. You got to have to kind of bridge that gap and drive them curious, like, perhaps, like, well, what if you try doing this. What do you, and like, give it 24 hours and see how you feel. Like, make them curious versus defensive about their point of view, and then let them figure out, like, oh, this isn't what I thought. Actually, this is not that bad. Exactly, and then you all end up at the same place, which is like you're finally in it. You're doing it. You did the thing you didn't think you could do. Regardless of how we got there, you're in there. You learn as you go, right? So again, those myths still exist, and those those concepts are still there. But it's true. Like athletics, the training of athletics, speed, power, force output, strength. Robustness in terms of tissue, all those things are good for everybody, right? It's like if you're if you increase your lean muscle mass, you therefore increase your ability to produce force on the ground. By default, you increase your ability to lift more so you can push yourself, but also increase the rate of force coming out. So you increase your speed and your power, which you might not care about those things. But those things actually do have an impact in just your day-to-day life, especially if you get older or something. That's like you can balance better, you can handle force better, something comes your way. All those basic things that might seem like very small, mundane things, but they do matter. They keep like you're sitting all day, keeps your back better. Like all those things, like they're not the sexy outcomes, but really small.
That's it for me. So 20 years ago, I'm working out, doing what I think are very similar exercises, without the proper instruction, without the proper cadence to it, coming in every week and trying to do a very heavy squat or a very heavy bench or a very heavy deadlift, feeling pain, not feeling great at work, not enjoying playing hockey, which I like to do recreationally. And here we are 20 years later, I guess I should feel worse doing all those things, and yet I feel better. My body is much more supported. I'm running through programs that really lead me to the single moment every once in a while where I'm getting to do a larger, heavier squat, but with supported exercises throughout the preceding 2-3 months that help get there. Enjoying all of those exercises, enjoying the process, but leaving with the result that I'm not in pain, that I can go play golf, that I can go play hockey, and I can perform better in these sports, which for me, again, they're all recreational.
But that's your pinnacle, yeah.
But then I recover quicker. I'm recovered quicker. I'm stronger. I have a better output in this daily activity, and I'm not leaving that with pain. So I've kind of removed a lot of the additional negatives I was getting from probably having a bad singular habit of kind of going at it my own. I think that's the other part of it too, is here you come in, you get a lot of support, and I think majority of the people out there committing to training are kind of going at it on their own, through a magazine, maybe through a friend in the gym, but they're not getting it on a daily basis. So you're always going to left feeling a little let down by your entry to the gym. Whereas here, the support, the coaching, the programming, all kind of adds up to giving you what you really want out of a place to go and perform and train for athletics.
Yeah.
Welcome to Iron Performance Center, Niagara's home for real personal and performance training. We're a community obsessed with building durable, explosive, game-ready humans. No gimmicks, no shortcuts, just training that works. From athletes chasing scholarships, to pros chasing championships, to regular people who just want to feel strong, move well, and stay built for real life. If you're willing to work, you're our people. Our system is simple: smart programming, elite coaching, and a culture that pushes you to levels you didn't know you had. With modern technology and principles-based programming, we track your progress, teach you movement skills, and give you every tool you need to perform when it matters most in whatever arena you call home. Iron Performance Center, because performance matters.
Believe it or not, it's really simple. It's so simple it's hard, is what you say. It's like, it's not one single exercise. Like, in all, honestly, like if you cover the basics, like if you do some form of like squatting, like core exercise, like squatting, you're pressing in some direction, you're pulling, you're lunging. Those all seem very basic, but again, it's never just what you're doing. It's how you're doing it. Like the tempo, the smallest minute detail makes a huge impact on something, right? Like, look at, like, using volleyball as an example. It's like they might do a full range front squat. They have knee pain. All of a sudden, you add a 2-second pause at the bottom. Knee pain goes away. Why? It's like, we can tell you why.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like that's like a small variable that now makes it opens up a whole freedom of movement for you that won't lead to pain, which opens up now more ability for you to develop tissue or force output, all these qualities that, again, small hinges swing that big door, but like something so mundane that makes a big impact that allows you freedom to move, right? Every single substitution or adaptation, it's like, okay, that's us not putting you into a mold. We're creating the mold around what you're capable of, like your archetype based on your height, your limb length, all these basic things. Just the archetype that you are, it's like the mold gets around you versus being squeezed into something else, or you're doing something random just because you feel you should. And you're like, again, maybe better than nothing, but at the same time, you're left wondering, like, where do I go from here? Like, is there a better way? Like, am I tracking the right things? Does this matter? Like, why or why not? Like those general curiosities. Like, I think if more people are curious about that, and again, they don't have to care. Like, no one's gonna love the weight room more than the guys that work here. They, no one's supposed to care as much about it. It's like, again, they have their own individual things, but it's like there's a certain, I think, curiosity and appreciation of what it can do for people based on their own, individual outcomes or goals that they have. It's getting them to be curious enough to try, like, take a chance, like, try that, like, see what you're really capable of. You know what I mean? Like, I can't do that. I'm not an athlete. It's like, you don't have to be by your own definition.
Right.
That's not the point. It's like you have something you're trying to get, or you want to feel a certain way, you want to do. It could be the most simple thing. I want to have more energy to play with my kids. I want to be able to coach baseball. I want to be able to coach hockey. I want to be able to, wake up and not be hurting or this hurts or something. It's like it could be that is fun. That is your pinnacle now. Like, try these things and see if that helps or gets you a little bit closer. You feel something. If nothing else, you might just build the confidence and the self-respect of, like, I could do that. Great. So you found, like, what are you capable of? You found out you're capable of that. What else are you capable of? Let's go find out. Like, what's
yeah. And that's what's cool for me. I love it. I love the what's find out moment. Like, 45 years old, and looking at the last couple of years and thinking, why am I able to lift more weight in my 3 core exercises of bench, squat, and deadlift? Put a picture together, create a video, and put it online every once in a while. It's because of what's happening through the rest of the 12 months.
No one sees the 12 months. It's
the picture, right?
Yeah, it's the one thing. It's the picture.
It's the picture.
One moment. No one's. That's it.
Yeah, people like friends see it. They're like, hey, how'd you get there? Or that would break my back. And yeah, I'd tell you the same thing a few years ago. But the process of getting there, the little things you work on, they always come together where it's fun to try one day a year a massive squat.
Yeah,
it's a blast. It's awesome. I'm not doing it every week.
No, but you're not supposed to.
Right.
You're literally not supposed to. Like, that's, I think, like Dave was talking about too, like about December, one of his buddies. Yeah, I'm gonna do December. I'm gonna pull this. And Dave's like, and again, Dave has a good training knowledge too. He's like, it's kind of crazy when, like, I think it's funny too with interns because they're so textbook driven, right? They see the percentages, they correlate to something like, okay, we're gonna do 5 sets of 5 at 85%. I'm like, you haven't done 85% before, have you? Also, they're repping someone else. Like, that's not 85%. Because the 85%, true 85%, you'd be cooked for 1 set only. You could not do that again. But this is where that, like, you don't really know until you know. Like, you don't know what you don't know type thing. So, Dave's buddy was like, oh, I'm going to pull this. And Dave's like, you haven't trained for a year. And you think 1 month, 4.5 weeks you think you're going to get that? It's like, you haven't prepared. Like, there's no groundwork. There's no runway for you to get there.
Yeah, I think the toughest part for those friends is, like, they look at a guy like Dave or I, who's, grinding in our office half our day, and then we show up here, and I think physically, Dave and I probably look good, but at the same time, do we look like guys who are going to get under the bar or tug from the ground? And the answer is really no. Like, but they haven't seen what the work that's been put in, so they have no clue. They'll look at it and say, "Well, Dave just did that. Scott just did that. I can do it. I put in so much work to it."
Yeah, it's almost like it's like you think, it's like, go ahead, go ahead. All right, your spine shoots out your ass. Well, we're gonna find out the truth right now. It's just, I don't always take that as a backhanded compliment. I'd be like this. What do you mean you think you can do that shit? It's like, okay, you again. They see the picture, like, oh, okay, you're right. They can do that. I can do that. I'd be like this. Okay, okay, like,
yeah. So there's work to be done. There's time to commit to it. I think to get back to your original questions, I'm happy to be a part of the ride.
Yeah.
I'm a long-term thinking guy, and I'm happy to commit my energy to doing it. And my goals are being met. My goals are moving forward. I think generally, I just want to keep trying to move the needle every year.
Stay curious. Stay curious. I think that's a nice way to kind of put a bow on it, I guess. You know what I mean? It's like we're always trying to diversify that stuff. And I think it's important I think we try to be a big part of the community in that way. It's like you can't find better training partners. And the best part, I get that intimidation factor too. Like, you don't like go in the room with a football guy in the CFL or like a high school volleyball player or hockey or whatever. It's intimidating. It's like, I get it, but it's like, you realize that no one really cares. They're doing their own thing. They're doing their own thing, but at the same time, they're supportive of some. They can appreciate the room of people all striving for their own, success in whatever way that looks like. So it's like they don't. I think that goes for a lot of places. No one cares. They're busy doing their own thing, right? So I think that community aspect it's individual, but at the same time, it's like this unspoken thing. You know what I mean? It's almost like it's hard to kind of put that into words because like you don't really know until you actually experience it. And you get the feeling. But all these people want the same thing. They all want everyone to be successful in their own way, even if it's not the same goal as them. It's like they're still proud of the fact that they have. It's like being on a team. Like, yeah, the team did this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we all had our own little part to play, but it was the team that kind of we're all.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I think what's important here: people show up. People do it right. I think if you get those two building blocks here, you have success here.
That's all we need. Stay curious.
You will get your goals by showing up here and doing it right. That doing it right means taking the instruction, listening and applying. Very, very basics. The program's going to be laid out for you. The support of coaching and the community is going to be around you. But if you walk in this door and you take the instruction, you'll get where you want to go, and you'll probably exceed it.
Yeah, keep the bar rolling. You know what I mean? Like it's a rolling bar. Like the outcomes might always change. That comes again, even like some of our university kids when they graduate, it's like, okay, now you have a new bar you have a different North Star now. Simple direction, but the process can simply be honed to fit that new one. It's like just don't stop. Don't remove the thing that's doing something good for you. You know what I mean? Like don't take away the thing that's doing good for you. And I think some kids get that too. I think it was big in sports. Like during the in-season, for example, they say, okay, they put like for hockey guys, they put in like 16 weeks of solid work, like 4 or 5 days a week, solid work. And then as soon as the season hits, they just pull it all back. And you're like, why? I'm not saying you have to do it. Like the process changes. I think you can respect the process fits the new outcome.
That's an interesting question. Let me throw it back to you a little bit because it just floating in my mind. Like you have guys like me and Dave. We're here. We're kind of, we're like the fern behind you.
It's ficus.
The ficus. We're growing with the gym. No, you gotta let people come and go, and then not because they leave to go away from weight training, but they go to their sport. They leave town to go with their school. You just said something like, why did they stop doing something? So how do you manage that personally? That a lot of these departing people. They changed their habits that they instilled here. Like,
well, I always personally reflect, like, did I not educate them enough on the process that they should be valuing? And, there's only so much I can hopefully kind of get across because now you're also battling other voices that I don't believe in co-signing bad behavior. And I can blatantly be like, no, like you can show the whole fucking data of things like actually, and we've done our own in-house studies on like volleyball in college. Like actually during the season, athletes that train 2 or 3 times a week with intent actually improved from September till playoffs by 5%. And the ones that only trained once or less, some decreased by 20%. At the time, you're supposed to be peaking to be your best. You got 20% worse from the start of season. And that's just one example. And there's others. But essentially, there's a lot of quantitative things you could point back and say, you got to keep going. I'm not saying you have to go create like off season. There's these variables change, but it's all adapted to the point of stay doing the thing you're doing that's making you successful. Pros do everything else. So you always reflect back and say, did I not educate enough? But you're also battling parents co-signing bad behavior. Like, no, they're doing too much. Coach is saying, like, I don't want you sore. So you're trying to educate them, and you have 2 types of people. They'll listen to respond or listen to understand. So now you got to figure out, like, are they a person that's just listening to say something back, or are they listening to actually be curious of, like, I'm open to hearing if there's a different point of view. and help me change my mind, because I'm the same way. I'll be like, okay, I'm open to changing my mind. I'm curious. Like, I'm willing to change my mind. Show me something. And I will hear you, listen to you, and I will go and do my own kind of, digging and say, you know what, you're right. I was wrong. There's a better way. Let's try that. But some are just so stuck in their ways, and you're like, no, this is just the way it is. I got more and more and more on my plate. And I get that. There's sports where you're on the road doing like 3 games a week, especially high school. And I would argue, I'd say college, university, they're easier. Pros especially easier in terms of like the scheduling, because when you're young, you're dictated by parents and school and everything else. You don't really have much in your schedule that you can control until you're able to drive yourself. So you have school and you have practice, like high school practice, and you have club practice, then you have games. Like you have a full schedule through in the week, right? But we also know that more isn't always better, because you're doing a lot of what, but how you're doing it. At some point, the ROI on this is not getting any better. The quality of the reps you're putting yourself through comes at a cost. And I'll use volleyball because we have it all the time. You have high school practice where you're jumping 150 to 300 times a practice. Then you have club practice right after that, another 300 reps approximately. So you have 600 jump contacts a day. That comes at a cost on your knees, your backs, your shoulders. So if it's costing my body some capacity to produce those outputs, what's the quality I'm getting back? Like it's so different than you're training in the gym. Like if I'm going to put my body through hell on a heavy squat or a lunge, like there's a hole you dig to come out better. Are you coming out better after the quality of the rep? Probably not, because now you're just beating yourself up for a very low rate of return. It's almost like a boxer sparring with a novice. It's more risky for them to spar and practice because they can't actually get any better, and they're putting themselves at risk getting hurt, right? So same concept. You're doing more hockey games, right? You're doing more practices. All this, you're kind of like you're like water on a rock eroding. At what cost, right? The whole point of, I would say, in-season work is to fill the gaps that's not being filled on the ice, on the court, on the field, not do more of the same thing, because I can't replicate volleyball practice. I'm not supposed to. You know what I mean? Like if you want to work on coordination, all those things, like you should go to practice. That's the most specific you can get that's going to help you be better at that. But you don't have a barbell in the court. You don't have X amount of simple sprints to do or jumps. There's certain qualities that you can train that supplement, fill the gaps where you're not getting in season, not just beat yourself to death doing the same thing over and over again, where the rate of return at some point dwindles. And it's literally your water on a rock scenario where you're gradually eroding away, but you're getting nothing for it. And that's where the injuries start to come up. Or what's worse is coaches notice you're a step short or you're too slow here, and you're tired more often. It takes you longer to recover. It might take you 24 hours and you're fresh, and all of a sudden you're like later in the season, it takes you 48 hours for your outputs to be the same again. You have to ask why. But again, it's more and more and more and more and more. And you're like, are we tracking something here to say perhaps this is not the way? You know what I mean? Like, what if you instead of having like 6 days on the ice, what if you did 4 and you put in 2 supplementary things that can help input some things in the body to help them be robust to then express longer? So you give them that day to actually build some armor to then erode it away later. But we get caught in this trap where that's just the way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
have you been given some opportunities from some of your athletes to kind of do some takeaway where you're allowed to keep your eye on them or help them out while they're away?
You try, yeah. Like,
without having too much interference from all those voices?
I'm not too concerned like my college university athletes, because I think the quality where they go to university, I don't always agree with the program. I've seen some of their shit, but at least there's some structure in there for them to follow. I can disagree on the X's and O's, but broad picture, they're being taken care of some way supplementally. I think there's always better, but nonetheless, they're taken care of. It's more like the club area around here where they're still around. Like I did a presentation for a certain hockey club. They didn't listen. The coach didn't care. Being honest, he did not care. Like you could tell he did not give a shit. You know what I'm saying? And then you try to talk to parents, and they're kind of set in their ways. Like, well, I don't want to do too much. It's like, but he's already doing a lot. What if you did like a little bit less, but it's addition by subtraction? Like you're just shifting a little bit here, we can build something. You know what I mean? But do they care enough to listen? Because they have the head coach or someone who has a higher authority, as they should, telling them something different, right? Rowing's a great example. For this, right? If you go to university or college, a lot of these rowers, within the first month or two being freshmen, ribs, back, some have rib fractures. You wonder why, right? It's because like their whole high school career, they've been on the water for like 3 hours a day. When you look at the data, it's like the best rowing athletes have a higher lactate threshold. They pretty much do like a 60-second test, hard output on the erg or on the bike or something like that, and they measure your lactate and say, okay, this is where your power output drops. So pretty much like Johan as an example, great lactic threshold. That's why he can do the sled pyramid so fast, because he can endure so much pain before his power output steadily drops. Most people drop very soon. He's continually able to push through, like his lactic ability is really high. So that's an indicator. That's 60 seconds of work. You do the math on like rowing, it's okay. You might row it's a 2-kilometer race. It might take you 5 to 8 minutes, depending on your time. And you have about 4 heats in a day with 15 to 20 minutes in between. So really, you have to do about, 20 to 25 minutes of real work. And you have about an hour broken up into 50 minutes across the day to recover. So doing 3-hour-long practice of steady state. Again, I'm not saying they all do this, but let's just say, for example, they did. The whole point of doing like long steady state stuff is your ability to recover in between bouts, right? So can I bring my heart rate from high to low in less time so I can do it again? Right? But if all you're doing is long steady state, you're not increasing your lactic or power output, which is the main indicator of winning races. Like you might finish the race and not be out of breath, but you lost. The guys that are puking on the side of the boat won, but they still won. So the goal is I have to increase this one thing, which doesn't mean I have to be out there for 3 hours. So is there a different way where I can improve that output quality that matters and save my body? So at least the intent is there that I'm doing what I need to do. No different than hockey when they're running stairs or something else. I'm not saying it's not important, and there's a time for that. But really, your average shift is what, 30 seconds? Maybe a minute?
30 a minute.
Right? And you have what, maybe 2 minutes in between shifts? Do the math on your minutes. Like, okay, so you have like a 30 to a minute output, and you have 2 minutes to recover. Can you get to the blue line? Can you get there first within a minute and do it again 2 minutes later? If yes, then you're in good enough shape. Now we can be a little more, split the hairs, be a little more precise with the actions that really are going to move the needle for us. If you can't do that, then more long steady state cardio isn't the answer. It's you're not getting there first. It doesn't mean you can go longer not getting there first. That's not the point. The point is beat him to the puck. You can't beat him to the puck. You can stay out there longer not beating him to the puck, but that's not the point. So what are we really chasing here? What matters? And it's not what you think. It's just that's how we've always done it. So we're going to do it that way. Doing gassers all the time. It's like, if you're not in shape coming into season, that's your own fault, right? You're probably not going to get into, you might get into game shape, but it doesn't mean you're going to get there first. It means you'll feel better about not getting there first. you know what I mean? So there is that piece of like, you try to use a little bit of, like I would say logical reverse engineering. Let's reverse engineer the game, right? Just do some averages and just test your players on that. And then you can see where we should pretty much put the bulk of our time and effort. And this is assuming skill is good. Like, I can't control skill on the ice. Like, you'd be a physical specimen and play like Jane on the ice. I can't help you there. But assuming your skill is competent, the physical aspect, like 90 to 94% of your season is preparation. 6 to 10% is game play. Why are we pissing away 90 to 95% of our preparation, chasing the wrong things, wasting time, energy, resources, beating our bodies up, and not getting a little bit closer to the mark, right? I'm not saying they can't improve, but you will not know why, or you have no litmus test to see if that one change made a difference. Versus you're just going to change a bunch of things and say, look, it worked. Like, well, what worked? We don't know. We changed everything. We don't know what worked. Versus like, well, we just did this instead. Did that make a difference? This instead, did that make a difference? There's a really way you can reverse engineer it, but they don't typically listen. And I think it's because they think, again, a lot of coaches sometimes just played their sport really well and they got into coaching. But we have a lot of data and we have a lot, I think, logical thought processes. So why don't we just reverse engineer what the outcome is? What does the best look like? What did they do? What's their archetype look like? And can we scale it and fit around the individual variances and go from, it's literally no different than how we program shit.
Yep.
Right? Yeah. Like some people can't back squat. Limb lengths are too long. They might need a wedge. They might do front squat. It's like, that's all we did. We just, the same outcome driven thing. We just changed an adaptation to fit your archetype so you can have the output you need.
Yeah. Give them what they need.
Give them what they need to get there. And so as a team, you're like, in general, let's reverse engineer and say, okay, this is where our team's at. This is the typical shift of a game, or, how many minutes they typically play. Are they a starter? Are they a rotational player? Are they a reserve player? Are they getting, if you're basketball, you're getting 20 or more minutes a game? If you're only getting 5 minutes a game, you don't need to take it easy. You can have an extended off season because you're not playing enough where it's going to stress your body out as much.
Yep.
Like, these basic logical things can be done really simply. but they're busy doing too much of the same thing. It's coming at a cost of their time, their resources, and their body. And they sit there and wonder why and say, okay, don't worry, in the summer we get right. It's like, you got right, and then you got wrong.
You gave up on it.
You gave up on it. You took away something that had the ability to move the needle and make you better in some regard.
That's a great observation on it, because it's always been that sentiment of sports is the seasonality of when you're training versus the consistency of it. And you see, I don't think athletics, sports, maybe beyond football, promote it as a main component. I always think of growing up looking at hockey. Rod Brindamore for the Blues, and then the Carolina Hurricanes. He was a guy who was really into fitness, and I'm sure he's translated that into coaching the team, which has had some success in the NHL. But I mean, that was the guy who was kind of the outlier of the guy that was doing the athletic training. The connotation was it was weight training, it was a hobby, but that was not it. The guy was a decent hockey player, constantly improving himself and committing to it all the way through to this career in coaching and winning the Stanley Cup. So
there's something to be said for passing the eye test. Like, if nothing else, like basketball, hockey, doesn't matter. Like, if I'm playing basketball and I have to get to the net, right? If I'm going up against a guy, I don't know, that looks like Dave versus a guy that looks like Miles, my offense changes just based on the eye test, right? Going against a guy like Dave, I say, okay, maybe I can have some physicality. I can get there. I can get to the rim. I go against Miles, I'm like, I can't beat him because it's just the look, like he's too physical.
Yeah.
Right? People disregard what physicality can support for your skill. And we use the examples like Mike Wazowski and Sully in Monsters, Inc. It's like Mike Wazowski's textbook. He knows everything there is about scaring. He knows everything about the skill and art of scaring, but he's not scary. Sully doesn't know a fucking book on scary, but he's just big and scary. So you're like, that's the exact same thing. It's like you can be such a tactician. You can be the most skilled player, but your physicality isn't supporting it. You're not going to get
Monsters
there.
Inc. ref.
You're not going to get there first. It's true. Like, we had an example of like a Ridley College. We tested these guys, basketball guys, and they're great, great basketball program. Coach Rich does a great job. We had a guy who's like probably 5'10", right? Like average height, 5'10", ran a 2.64, 20. His run-up jump was like 11 feet. 11 feet at 5'10", right? And apparently, like, this is a story Vic was telling me, like he played 4 months of summer football just for fun. And then Vic's getting calls from D1 football coaches. And he doesn't have much skill in the art of football. He's just physically. And they're like, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
We'll teach him the skill because you're so physical. Just do the same thing you do with a ball in your fucking hand. That's my point, though. It's like playing hockey, as an example. Like, if you are like 6'5" and built like a brick shithouse, they will find a way to teach you how to be a better hockey player. Right? But that's the thing you can control. Like, you have a genetic ceiling. Like, genetics are a big part of your physical ceiling. But you have a relative ceiling to what you're capable of, and we don't touch it typically. We don't even get close enough to it for our own reasons that we just pull ourselves back. Like, you hear the mother story, like a mother pulling a car off their kid. It's like your body literally has like inhibitors where you're not supposed to do that because you tear everything in your body, but it is capable of doing it in a very high stress situation. So it's like you're trying to literally get to that ceiling without that, inhibit that organ in your body to get there. You control that. And if you're so physical, they can literally mold the skill into you just because you're capable of doing it. If you're not even physically capable of doing what you're supposed to do, it doesn't matter how good you are at the skill. You can't do it. You're not getting there first.
Right.
How do you play the game faster and make the game easier? You're not able to do it. You can know everything about the game and you can tell what play to do. You just can't do it because your body's not supporting you to do it. And you control that. You can literally change your physiology to support the skill you're good at, but you choose not to. Why? Because you think I just got to do the most. Don't get me wrong, I'm not disregarding practice. Practice is the most important thing, right? But there is something to be said for doing those things to support you in practice. If nothing else, you can recover a little better. Instead of taking 72 hours for your body to feel good again to go practice hard, maybe it takes you 48 hours. Your body is supporting you. But it gets lost based on just more. It's not the quality of what we're doing anymore. It's just we're doing more things because I'm supposed to do more things. It's like, well, what's it costing you? What are you getting out of it? You know what I mean? Like, you're essentially throwing shit at the wall and hoping it sticks. And whether you win or lose, you're basing on your theory. Like, hey, look, we won. See, it worked. You don't know why it worked. So you're just going to replicate the same thing again. All of a sudden, it's not going to work again. You're like, oh, well, that was just a bad team. It's like, maybe it wasn't a bad team. Maybe just the direction we were going worked one time, and then it wasn't scalable, or we couldn't do it. We couldn't replicate it again. That's why dynasties are built. Look at any team that had a dynasty. It's like they figured out a system and how to plug people into the system. They recruited based on their system, right, and their style and their process. So they plug people into a system and adapt it to succeed.
Yeah, and then like you said, then they believe.
Right.
They win, winning, believing.
It's a lot again, and these physical things they can start young, and I think that misconception of, oh, they're too young to start. Like, I believe that there's up until like the age of like 11 maybe, like, play, let them explore, play, do those things, like let them learn coordination. If I had a fantasy world, I would have kids very young start gymnastics, then start wrestling or MMA, learn how to be you gain spatial awareness and some body strength, you gain control individually of your strength, and then you start to play team sport. You can now plug it into camaraderie. That's like a great funnel. You have all these diverse skills being taught at a young age, and now you can funnel into something that fits your archetype and your skill set. But you're building physical qualities and coordination skills along the way, and now you're just picking a skill that you excel at based on everything you've learned. You set the groundwork. So then you have like kids that are, we have a kid that's like 11 or 12 years old, hockey guy, really good kid. He's getting better, but it's crazy to see, like, again, like, you don't have to be 14 or 15 years old to pick up like a 20-pound weight and practice squat. Not even squat heavy, just can you hold a squat position for 5 seconds with good posture? You can't. So why can't you do that at 11 years old? Like, what's stop? Like, why are you too young to start now? You make it, I think it's people make it sound like, oh, they're going to throw them in there and just, you're like, it's literally not that at all. They're doing push-ups with control, and you're like, why are they benching? He can't do a push-up. Why am I going to put him under a bar? Right. It's like, it's literally just, we're learning physical qualities, the movement skill itself. And then we could load the skill and refine the skill, and then add a rate-driven metric to the skill. If you can't squat with a tempo and a pause, why would I tell you to squat with the weight fast as you can? You can't control the position. It's a literal, like, it's simple, but it's really just a process. Like, you have to be able to, like, learn these skills at a young age. Like, I would put more kids at 10 or 11 years old in the weight room. They build the comfort around the environment, and they're learning skills around people that are probably older than them. So they have that exposure to that, hey, people that are doing successful are doing it. Great. This is where you start. You get familiar with it, you practice, and then your body, especially when you go through puberty, you have a natural steroid coursing through your veins at a high amount at 13, 14, 15 years old, for males anyway. Just surging, it's a legal steroid surging through your body. You can literally capitalize at 13, 14, 15 years old at these outputs, and your body's going to recover really quickly, and you're going to adapt really fast before it peaks off. And then you just got to keep stacking on it. That's why guys, when they're really strong and powerful, even at an old age, their strength really doesn't drop much because their baseline's too high. If you start a little bit later, I'm not saying you can't get your ceiling up there, but you kind of,
Yeah, you keep pushing.
So it's like, and this is what drives me crazy when trying to talk to coaches, when you have your 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds that are just, they always put in the work for the off season. And then you come in season. And again, in season is the longest uninterrupted training cycle we have. 6 months or so. Why the fuck are we pissing it away? Pulling the one thing that is literally, it's homeostatic. We need to add it in to adapt to a stimulation. Your body likes to be like this. It adapts to the thing it does the most. If you sit on your ass all day, that's where it gets comfortable. You try to do something else, it doesn't like it. So but if you do it consistently, it adapts to it. So it's like, if you get comfortable, with facilitated struggle in the right way, your body adapts to it. You can stack on more. But it's like, if you don't do anything, why would you just not do the thing that made you successful? So your body that gets comfortable not doing it again, your outputs go down because you don't need it. You degrade. Why? Because someone said, do more of this. It's like, I'm not saying don't do more. Like, it's naturally going to come to do more, but it doesn't mean you get rid of this, because that allowed you to do that better. Why would you take away the thing that allowed you to do that better, supported you to be better, and you just cut it out and then you justify why? It doesn't matter why. Things went down. You feel worse. It doesn't matter why. It did. And you made the choice to let it happen. And someone else co-signed your bad behavior.
Yeah.
And then we come back in the summer, we try to build it all up again.
Yeah.
That's it. That's my TED Talk. Yeah. That's never going to go away. That's the same conversation every time with fucking different coaches, different athletes. You know what I mean? Sometimes it sticks, sometimes they get it. You know what I mean? You tell 10 of them, 1 or 2 might get it. The other 8, they'll have to figure it out on their own. You know what I mean? And I think if any coach is listening to this, just be curious, be open-minded. Be open-minded to perhaps, is there a different way or a better way? Just don't even like say there is a better way. Just be curious, like, could there be a different way that gets to either the same or better result or outcome that we want? Is there? And then ask good questions and then make a decision.
Yeah, maybe you're doing something better for that individual. I think that's part of the, there's certainly a team goal there, but there's, a lot of individuals here who are going to need to move on in their sport, in their team, setting them up with the great building blocks they're attaining here, when they leave here would certainly be helpful to them as well.
Yeah, makes sense. Whether they excel or decide to hang up their shoes or skates or whatever like that, it's like this stuff doesn't go anywhere.
No.
It matters just for overall health and well-being, which I don't think gets enough credit for. You know what I mean? And that alone should be an incentive to just find out what you're capable of and hold on as long as possible. Because at some point, it's going to be a lot harder to do the things you normally want to do. And when that clicking point happens, is it going to be an oh shit moment, or is it going to be like, I can handle this? It's again, that's long-term thinking. But anyway, if you want to get in touch with you, learn more about you, where can they find you?
I'll give my cell phone. It's 905-658-5637. That's the easiest way.
we had one guest be like, don't call me. We said, how can they learn more about your contact? They're like, don't contact me. And I was like, that's fucking hilarious.
I'd be happy to take a call. Anybody that's listening to this podcast and they're interested in what it's like here, how you connect, doing athletic weight training in general with your professional career or whatever age, happy to take a call and talk about my experience and how beneficial it's been for me and my wife and my family too. The kids love coming here as well.
Start 'em young, man. Young. Love it all. All right, guys. Performance Matters Podcast. We're on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. And again, there's two types of people. There's subscribers and there's non-subscribers. So you might as well be a subscriber and just stay in the loop, right? A lot of rants, a lot of revelations. And you get to hear me go on my TED Talk bursts on a regular basis. So you might as well just subscribe and be in the know. Other than that, guys, we're tuning out. Till next time.